Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, this one's a simple one, but I can't get it out of my head. Can you reset my password? Again? Don't mind me. I'm just tech support. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. This one's a simple one, but I can't get it out of my head. I work in a store that offers technical support for consumer-level technology. A few days ago I had an elderly gentleman that we'll call Pete, name changed for privacy. Our receptionist made him a walk-in appointment earlier that day, and I ended up taking it. When I opened it all up, the only notes I saw were third-party software, hard of hearing. I walked up to Pete and greeted him, saw that he was staring at my lips as to read them, then I asked if he knew American Sign Language, ASL. I've been trying to learn ASL as a sort of side hobby for a few months now. Pete signs yes, and we continue the conversation in sign. Turns out the issue is with Skype, which keeps crashing on his roughly 5-year-old tablet, and he's been having difficulty video calling his wife who is deaf. She lives in a different continent, she traveled there for a temporary work opportunity, and would be there for 2 years. This being the midway point, it's now been 1 year since Pete's seen his wife. Skype is the only way they both know how to communicate efficiently long distance, as neither are comfortable with email or other text-based services. As I go through verifying that he knows his password and making sure there's a backup of his device, Pete and I are signing back and forth and his face was completely lit up. I felt so good to be able to, albeit slowly, speak with him in his language and give him the time he deserved, even if his reason for visiting us had little to do with our physical product. Once everything was verified and backed up, I uninstalled Skype and reinstalled it, had Pete sign in, and use Skype's test call to ensure it wouldn't crash, as it would immediately upon call creation before. Test call went through fine. Sweet. I looked down to write a few extra notes and began to hear some coughs. I looked up and there was Pete, crying while waving to his wife through Skype. Pete called her and she picked up. He introduced me to her and told me that it had been 3 weeks since they'd heard from each other. I stepped away to give him a moment alone. It's moments like these that keep me going as a technician. Even though I barely touched Pete's tablet, fixing it made me feel like a hero. It's been a few days, and I can still see his smile. Just thought I'd share, thanks for reading. Obligatory, wow, this exploded overnight. Thank you all for your kind words. Seeing the response I've gotten from all of you has made this experience even better. You guys are an amazing community. Can you reset my password? Again? While I don't work in IT, it never seems to fail that I become the tech guy and get asked to do all the tech stuff on top of my regular job. I work in public safety, so we weren't exactly hired for our computer skills and our agency is not really big enough to justify a dedicated IT position. I was given the task, among several other things, of creating and deleting user accounts and resetting passwords for our records software. My biggest headache, of course, was resetting locked accounts. Some people forget to type their username when logging in and end up locking the last user's account quite often, while others seem to just always forget their password. But one user always seemed to have trouble. Also, most people do not have one computer they always use. There are many computers and users won't likely use the same computer one day to the next. This will come up later. I get an email from a user one morning that their password isn't working. I log in and see that they have 9 failed password attempts, which meant not only did they type the wrong password 3 times and disable their account, they tried 6 more times after being told contact your system administrator. Not unusual, and it might not even be their fault as mentioned above. I unlock the account, give them a generic temporary password, and go on about my day. A few hours later I get a call from the same user. User, that password isn't working. I typed some _generic password, and it isn't working. Me, that's the correct password. I'll reset it right now, and you can try to log in. User, nope, still not working. I see the failed login attempt under his profile, so at least I know they got their username right. Since I have them on the phone, I give them a super simple password and have them log in. User, lots of typing and clicking, it's still not work. Oh wait, there we go. It says my password expired. I thought you just reset it for me. Me, yes, but it is only temporary. You have to create your own password now, and it has to be list of requirements. Make sure it is something you will remember. User, okay, thanks. I don't think much of it and go about my day. A few days later I get an email from user asking to reset their password. They're super apologetic about it, but honestly, it's just a forgotten password. I've had worse calls, like someone deleting an entire person by accident. Oddly, the account is not locked out and there are no failed login attempts, so I give them a call. Me, hey, I got your email, it's okay. Your account shows it isn't locked, and I don't see any failed login attempts. Are you using your username? What is it telling you when you try to log in? User, lots of typing and clicking, it says could not establish a connection to the server. I typed my username and password, and that's all that happens. That's not unheard of. Me, that's not unheard of. Close the login prompt and try again. Make sure you let me know what you are doing and what messages show up. User, walking me through each step they're taking, and I'm in, you fixed it. Me, okay, sounds good to me, have a good day. This happens a few more times over the next several weeks, and they are never able to really explain what happens before I get involved. Inevitably, by time they get me on the phone, it seems to be working again. There are several times where I again notice they don't have any failed login attempts, and their account is not locked. I do reset their password a few times, but never end up having too much trouble getting them in with a little patience. Fast forward a few months and my coworker and I are asked to assist with a server migration. One task is to go to each computer in the building and enter the new server configuration, update the software, and rename the old server settings. This is accessed from a settings button on the login screen. A new dialog box allows you to select an existing server configuration or create a new one. I set up the first few computers without an issue, but then I come to a computer that I know user uses quite often. I open the server configuration settings, and there are 10 servers listed. The legacy server, the test server, and 8 servers with variations of user's username or full name. I open the settings for the first one and I find something like server address, user's username, port, super_simple_ password. I find variations of this for every additional server entry in the list. This explains everything. The loads of clicking and typing and the could not establish a connection to server was user going into settings and creating and saving a new server each time. I chuckled and called user over. We chalked it up to they were never shown how to properly log in, and they had a laugh too. User was happy, they didn't have to keep asking for new passwords, and we didn't have to keep resetting them. By the end of the update, I found around 5 more times where this was done on other computers. Don't mind me. I'm just tech support. Here's a story from my last deployment to Iraq. I used to be a CIGO, which is kind of like a help desk manager for the Army. Received a call from the operations officer. No, I'm not going to explain what an ops officer does, or explain any other Army acronyms, abbreviations, or jargon. This post would be ridiculously long, telling me he needed a new VoIP phone. We used VoIP phones on our classified network, POTS phones for unclassified calls, because his was broken. Since I took care of all officer issues personally, I grabbed a spare phone off the shelf and headed over to his office. When I arrived, he was on the POTS phone talking to a buddy from another unit. He gave me a disdainful look and pointed to his VoIP phone, which was sitting on the printer in his office. When I picked it up, bits of plastic fell off, the screen was cracked in multiple places, and the handset was held together by the wires inside. Jesus? WTH happened to this poor phone? Oh well, phone surely doesn't work. I plugged in the spare, and checked that it worked correctly. I was waiting for the opso to get off the phone to tell him the new VoIP phone was ready for him when I overheard this. Yeah, I am getting a new VoIP phone. I got mad at what I heard and threw the old one against the wall. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.